Welcome back. All right, so news of the day for your Monday, and we'll see if there's any other big news that takes place today. I mean, hey, Kane going on waivers likely clears today. We'll see, and we'll discuss that, and of course, Montreal continuing to make news. We'll see what big news is next. So the Pittsburgh Penguins are the big news so far today. They have been sold to Fenway Sports, which is kind of weird, based out of Boston and all that, but they have bought the Pittsburgh Penguins. Mary Lemieux, Ron Burkle will remain as part of the ownership group. They're excited to add them to their team, and it all sounds good. There's no danger of this meaning eventually there's going to be a move. That's not at all part of it, and that'll always be discussed with certain teams. Pittsburgh being one of those teams, there have been times where there's been discussions of their viability. Right now, it feels like Pittsburgh is a very healthy market. That hasn't always been the case. But healthy market now. Now they've got good ownership. Not that there's anything wrong with the previous ownership, but it feels like there's deeper pockets. They own the Red Sox in baseball, Liverpool in the English Premier League, and Roush Fenway Racing in NASCAR. So, yeah, there's some deep pockets here, which talks, right? The ownership in the NHL, the way that it works, you have a whole lot of money and you have some sway out of that. So it's definitely good for Pittsburgh. And again, I don't see this as any threat to the stability of the franchise, short or long term, in Pittsburgh. Raymond is the clear-cut favorite right now for the Calder Trophy. We're a quarter of the way through the season. I can discuss this periodically with winners and who might win and all that. Raymond is having a very good rookie season, which does not surprise me at all. All of the scouting on him was about how he looked NHL ready, how his game should translate very, very well, how he did kind of everything really, really well. And when he was drafted, I felt that was a really good pick for the Wings and that fans would really like him. I understand that winning the draft lottery, it feels like, is the bigger deal, but drafting smart is more important than drafting early. And for Yzerman, he is definitely drafted smart. The number one contender for the Calder outside of Raymond is Seider. So 2 Red Wings, I would think, are the top picks. And yet, again, once we get further through the season, I could do a video on this year's rookie class, which is really remarkable. And we can discuss, who may end up being a dark horse and who may be a favorite. And Raymond may still be the favorite at that point. There will be a hearing today for Brad Marchand. He was guilty of a slew foot last night against the Canucks, against Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And, I mean, he's not popular anyways with Canuck fans, dating back to the submarine hit on Salo, which I myself took a lot of exception to. The slew foot, I thought, wasn't as bad as that. And yet I do feel like, because there's a hearing, so there's going to be a suspension. I would think a game, maybe 2. It depends on whether or not they consider him to be a repeat offender, what they deem to have taken place with this. Like Ekman-Larsson stayed in the game. Does that factor into it? Probably. So I would think a game, maybe 2. Either way, as long as he's good to play in Vancouver with Boston when Boston's here next week. That'll make the game all the more interesting. Marchand always gets a pretty loud response from Vancouver fans. I don't think that'll be different, even though Vancouver is in very poor shape right now. I don't think that's going to make Canuck fans cheer for Marchand. I don't think that's possible. Brendan Lemieux, his hearing is tomorrow. So the last time that I discussed that, we didn't have a firm date. The date is tomorrow. That's when they'll have the discussion with him. And then they'll make their announcement on how long he's out. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of for how long, right? And again, for Marchand, I would think that because they've announced it as a hearing, it has to be a suspension. It just has to be, right? And I will say, too, he is the most valuable player to Boston. Pastrnak may be the best goal scorer. Bergeron may be the best center and one of the best all-around players in the league. And he's a Hall of Famer. But Marchand, to me, is the one that makes that team go. And if he's suspended, that's going to make them struggle in the games without him. Mark Jankowski, who played last year for Pittsburgh, had a tryout with New Jersey, did not make it. He has been signed by the Buffalo Sabres. 1 year league minimum for Jankowski, and they've also sent down Ruotsalainen, so he will step into the lineup, and we'll see how things go. Buffalo's done all right with the reclamation projects this year. They honestly have. Their record isn't fantastic, but it's better than what was expected of them to this point in the season. And so we'll see. Jankowski can put the odd goal in here and there. He did that at the start of the year last year with Pittsburgh, and then that was it. He had a pretty good first week and a half, and then it seemed like it petered out after that. But we'll see. Again, Buffalo, the reclamation projects have worked. Craig Anderson's a good example. Though he's injured right now, Anderson's had a good run with Buffalo when he's been in there. Jeff Molson did the press conference thing today. It sounds like Montreal's going to restructure the team completely. Now, there are some that are reading between the lines on this. We have discussed the entire Francophone discussion and how important that is. Jeff Molson, it would seem, is going to bring in a general manager who will be Francophone, bilingual, English and French. And then it seems like the guy who's actually making the call might be Jeff Gorton. So Gorton is being seen as, the president and the one they'll go to. And so maybe it'll be one of those things where, yes, you have your general manager, but the actual final say might be someone else. So the public-facing person answering the questions at the press conference would be able to address the press in both languages, but it may be an Anglophone, somebody who just primarily speaks English, who's actually making some of the decisions. And Jeff Molson basically saying they're willing to completely revamp the way things are done. He's not scared of a rebuild. That doesn't bother him in the slightest. If they have to do a rebuild, he's fine with that, which some fans might be kind of surprised to hear so soon after a cup final run, but it does happen. Teams make nice long runs in the playoffs and then find themselves in that rough position not too long after. San Jose is a good recent example. Ottawa's another example. Those teams not having gone to the finals but going to conference finals, and then it just fell apart after. So we'll see. But he wants Ducharme to stay as coach. He's vocal about this, that he believes that Dominic Ducharme is the guy behind the bench and he doesn't want to see him go anywhere. So I don't think that means that he wouldn't allow a new general manager to fire him necessarily, but he might strongly suggest not to fire Dominic Ducharme to a brand new general manager. And he also has stated they're going to be building a medical team dedicated to players' mental health, based on both Jonathan Drouin and Carey Price needing time off for mental health issues. So he's basically saying that he wants to take care of that, and they should. I think every team should have that. You have all of your trainers. You might as well have a couple of people around too to make sure everybody is doing well before you end up in a situation where, like Jonathan Drouin or Carey Price, that they need to take time away from the team. And that can get into a lot of stuff, and, we'll see. I remember the Canucks years and years ago messing around with the whole sleep idea that they need sleep here and there. There was a lot of discussion of different things with Vancouver at that point, and maybe we're back there. Maybe we're back to the point where it's like, hey, we've got to make sure we know what's going on with these players. Not, monitoring them 24/7, but still. On-ice performance is great. Making sure they're not injured physically is great, but take care of some of the mental health side and all of that as well. For the San Jose Shark fans out there wondering, and for fans around the league wondering, Evander Kane right now is still a Shark. They're willing to retain 50% of the cap hit on Kane in a trade, is the rumor. And, of course, this means that all the rumor sites are going crazy with where Kane might go and what you might get back. All I know is that his agent apparently has been allowed to reach out to teams. They've also reached out to Vancouver. All I could think was, Vancouver's in a really bad spot. They could use a goal scorer, just purely based on the goal scoring aspect. Kane would be a good addition. But you've got a locker room that's rumored to already be in some level of chaos. I'm not sure that adding Evander Kane would necessarily help a locker room that's already in a state of chaos. So it's a pass from me. And it's one of those things where if the Canucks made that move, I would have some questions. And it's there's two things with that too. Canuck fans would probably be pretty upset with it for two reasons. One, because adding Evander Kane, as I said, I don't think that would help any of the locker room issues that are rumored to be out there. But two, Jim Benning making a big trade like that would scare the you-know-what out of most fans around here. So there's that too of what would we have to give up. And it would be, well, we gave up this year's first and we gave up, and then everything explodes. That would do it, right? 2022 first round pick, and that would end up being a lotto winner. you know it would end up being Shane Wright and San Jose. We'd get their gratitude forever. That'd be it. Yeah, that'd. If I, yeah, I can envision it in my head. So Kane's still with the Sharks. I haven't heard anything about a team necessarily claiming him. Normally, if a team's going to put in a claim, the press will be reporting on it. That they've heard rumors that numerous teams are ready to put in a claim. I don't think it's going to happen. It's like Matt Murray. Nobody put in a claim on Matt Murray. He cleared and went to the minors. So Pesce and D'Angelo are in protocols. If you're a Canes fan, they're not on the trip to Dallas. They're in quarantine. So it's the same thing that happened with Lars Eller of the Washington Capitals. When they got it with Lars Eller, it did not spread to other teammates, and everything ended up being okay. It was an isolated case. So the hope is that in this instance that they're isolated cases as well. But again, this is how this works. This is local health officials and all of this working with the NHL, and this is how the system's set up. So we'll see how long they're out for and what happens there. But they're staying behind in Raleigh, in quarantine, and we'll see what happens. But for the Canes, they're going to be short on 3 defensemen right now, and I think they'll fight their way through it because the Canes have a lot of depth up front on the blue line and just in general. Very well run organization, but we'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing right through you just happen upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.